This is just a metal little necklace. And when you look at it, what do you see? Moses holding the Ten Commandments. And on the back of it is the Shema. That's the most holiest of the prayers in the Jewish faith. Very thin, and I got it from my father, I don't remember, in 42 or 41. And wasn't a precious gold or anything. But when I was going to concentration camp, have to give up everything that you have, all your treasures, all your jewelry. And I take it off and I say, oh, Moses, I have to turn you over to the Nazis. I had it on a tiny little silver chain. I took off the chain, I turned in the chain, and this little necklace, you see how thin it is, I stuck it in my mouth. And in concentration camp, I stuck it into the wall, and he lay there for 2.5 years watching over me from the wall. So to me, this is the most precious piece of jewelry.
You know, at that time, I was very desperate to survive. It was in me. I said, I have to survive to keep the memory of my family alive. My brother told me that's the only way. I never lost faith in God. That was the only way for me to survive and to be strong, to keep the memory of my family alive.
We were on a transport being deported somewhere. I have no idea where we were going to go. There were 300 women and children in this transport that was taken away from a soldier uniform factory where we were working. And the Nazis were not supposed to take us away because we were important for the war effort. But they took us away anyway. And that was in December 1st, 1944. And we were, my mother and I were on a truck. There were some trucks and other people were just walking around. And at the end, we arrived to this very busy marketplace. It was a Friday afternoon. And the Nazis said, don't anybody move, get out of line, or get off the trucks. With that, the truck that we were on stopped. My mother jumped off. She winked at me. I jumped after her, and we left. And nobody saw us, of course.
I think a mother would do almost anything. I've seen it done just to help the children and to keep them alive. And I think that's what motivated her. She was always the last. When we were eating, whatever we were doing, she put herself last. It was for the children.
The ability of some of these women to go beyond the pain that was inflicted upon them, to think in a sense that there has to be a survivor to tell about this, and to protect their children by seeing that they were able not only to have more sustenance or to eat, but I also heard the stories of mothers who were able in some of the camps to be close with family members, to take over the duties and responsibilities of the younger ones, so that the younger ones would have strength to go on and not to be beaten, and the mothers took this upon themselves.
In 1942, my father realized that the liquidation of the ghetto was imminent. And he tried to save me by having me go to a concentration camp. But you couldn't go to a concentration camp by choice. You had to be sent there or something. And he didn't know what to do. And I was young, and I wasn't going to volunteer anyway for concentration camp. I only had one younger sister than me. But one day my father, I don't know how he did it. My father was a smart man. He contacted a man that was leading the trains that were leaving from my hometown towards different places, and he must have found out about the man that was driving one of the trains that would go by the Oberallstadt concentration camp. And he made arrangements unknown to me, of course, because if he would ask me, I would say, "You're crazy, I'm not going." And he made arrangements that he would take me on the train, and once he would pass Oberallstadt, where the concentration camp where my sisters were, that he would just drop me off by the gate and go on with the train. I didn't know, but when I went by the train, I thought I was going on a vacation or something. And when he dropped me off by the gate, I was sitting outside and crying. I didn't know, what am I doing here? And then they took me into the concentration camp. And when my sisters saw me, they were in a shock. They took me, and they both slept on top beds, and they took me, and the three of us slept on that bed.
I was standing in front of Dr. Mengele. I will never forget him so long I live. And I said, wherever my mother goes, I'm going to follow her. And I said, I cannot be alone anymore. So what's happened, before we came to Dr. Mengele, Selek was standing in front of him completely nude, no clothing. And he looked you over, and there was people to right and to the left. I said, my mother was always in front of me, and I said, wherever my mother goes, I go too. There I'm standing there in front of him, completely nude. And this tall guy, and I was making faces to him, because I didn't want him to concentrate on my mother. I thought my mother is old. She was about 40-some years old. I thought my mother is old, that she was sent to the side of death. I made faces to him that he should concentrate on me. And that too, while he was looking at me, and then he put his big hand, I never forget, he put on my shoulder his big hand, and I had to turn around. While I was turning around, my mother was able, because at that time we had a tremendous sense of life. My mother knew which side is the side of life and which side is the right or the left. So my mother right away, she kind of switched to the side of life. So he didn't even see it when my mother reached the other side.
My dad sent a message to my mother to this factory that he's going to be taken away somewhere. And of course she didn't know what to do, and I guess she was standing, I didn't know about this, but she was standing in the doorway crying, and this official from the factory or somebody happened to notice her and asked her why she's crying. And she told her that my dad is going to be taken away. And this gentleman, whoever he was, told her about having these protective papers called the Schutzpass from neutral country diplomats. By that time there were two in Budapest who were trying to save the Jews. She was able to get one, sent it to my dad. My dad was actually in the train when the Nazi got the paper and he let him go.
I think women have a remarkable strength that quite often they don't want to acknowledge that. I think it's from this culture that men rule the world. And I will not in any way take that away, because I have a very strong husband. And yet I realize that women have to acknowledge that they have deep within them the willpower to achieve, the willpower to conquer obstacles that are in their way, and the willpower also to give over to others if they know that they themselves will not be able to complete the task. It is a remarkable testimony, I think, and I think it's something that women have to impart to their own female offspring, to say, you can do this. All you have to do is want it badly enough.
I think as Jews, we have something inborn within us. It says, "Ubacharta b'chayim," you should choose life. And this is something that I think Jewish people strongly believe, that it is our duty to survive.
I always kiss Moses and I say thanks for watching over me.